everyone? I'm John Presapio, joined along as always with Brian Sarnelli. Brian, I say as always, however, this past weekend, I actually can't say that because you were down in Miami for opening weekend.
I was down in Miami to watch the Mets, win on opening day, a normal occurrence that we've seen over the last 60 years. No team wins more on opening day in any sport than the New York Mets do. So if you got some betting odds, you always want to bet on the Mets on the opener, and they came through for you there. But John, we kind of saw a different game of baseball than a game that we've never seen before with how baseball is being played with these new rules.
Oh, it was great.
And I would love to tell you about Miami, and I'm sure I'm going to get the opportunity because I had a special moment in the stands myself as I tease that moment here for you. But I want to start off this episode with just talking about the differences in what we saw. We have a pitch clock. We got bigger bases. We had no shifts. Well, basically no shifts. And all the games on average were just barely hitting 3 hours, if not coming in right under 3 hours. And, I think when I heard all these rules coming into play, I think I'm one of those people that's a little bit more of an old timing person where I don't want baseball to change. I thought baseball was fine the way it was. Don't change it for the people that don't like baseball. Leave baseball as it is and, let everybody else adjust. There's enough people that love baseball. We don't have to change this game. And John, we've now watched 5-6 games maybe into this season. And I think I might have been wrong. I think I might have been wrong.
I'll tell you what. I mean, what you describe is what they call a purist of the game. I'm totally there with you. I think as the years have gone by, this has been flirted with for quite some time. And I've had that same reaction where I've been a little uneasy. I don't know what to think of these changes. And I'll tell you what, after the first 3 games of the Yankees season, I'm in love with these changes. I think this is the best thing. Manfred finally got something right. Let's put it that way.
Are we about to give him his flowers? I feel like Robert Manfred has been universally hated since taking over the role as commissioner of baseball. Sure. And I think every single move this man has done, everybody has hated him for and just absolutely destroyed him on. And I don't know if anybody's really going to be brave enough to give him like an ounce of credit for this.
Now, I will say this about Manfred, and this is a blanket statement for all commissioners. A commissioner's job is to serve the owners. He is there to generate revenue for the 30 clubs of Major League Baseball. And to that respect, I think right now there's a little bit of question as far as Rob Manfred. I mean, we have the Bally situation. You have just the state, the money. A lot of things aren't great where they are right now. Labor disputes and whatnot. However, in this one circumstance, this decision was about the fans because they realized there's a need, and that is to get more fans interested in the game. And I think he's struck gold with this one, with this pitch clock. And I was one of the biggest people that was hesitant about the change, but as I've watched it, I think it's been good. I don't think there has been enough issues I've seen so far, and I hope it stays that way. But I've been very pleased with the results. These games are moving at a great pace. I mean, right now, as we record this, it's 9:06. Game started at 7 o'clock. The Yankees are currently, I'm looking at them play God Bless America at Yankee Stadium right now. Mets are ending the 6th inning, down by 5 runs. But
I'm not going to lie, John. As you and I have been sitting here, I do have the Mets game on right now. It's like you just said, bottom of the 6th. I have watched the Brewers hit 3 solo home runs off Max Scherzer as you are doing this dialogue. As I was sitting here talking to you about the rules, I have tried to stay just as calm as can be as I'm watching the ball just fly.
Are you concerned with Scherzer at all right now? I mean, are you a little worried?
You can't. I'm not somebody who gets nervous in April over pitching performances or like hitting. I don't overreact to April for the most part.
Sure.
I think that helps just kind of keep a level head. It's a marathon, not a sprint. If you could start off in April hot, you always feel good about it, but you're like, is this something that's going to last?
But going back to last October now, Scherzer, I mean, not even last October, last September, Scherzer.
Hear me out. We're not going to talk about this yet. I'm not going to let you get in my head, because right now I think it's a really easy thing for you to do. I think you could convince me that, maybe the Mets were just better off keeping Rich Hill. I don't know, but we're not going to have that conversation.
All right.
We're not.
We won't talk it today, but I'll tell you this. At some point, we have to start wondering if Father Time is catching up to Max Scherzer.
Can we put a pin? Let's put a pin.
We can put it off
not
a
week. Not a week. Not a week.
Right.
May.
All right.
The month of May, you and I can have this conversation.
All right, we'll come back in May. And we'll see where he's
let me get you back to where we were. We're talking about these rules. We're talking about the changes. Something that stood out to me, John, stolen bases. Bases on opening day. Yes. Here's a little fun stat for you. You came here for Station to Station for stats. This is what you're going to get right here. Hard-hitting numbers. In 2022, on opening day, there was 5 stolen bases last year on opening day. This year, 2023, opening day, 21 stolen bases.
I love it.
In the season of 2022, it took 3 days into the season to get to 17 stolen bases. You are going to see people running like crazy this year. And I think the thing that helps, obviously, we're talking pitch clock. You got a bigger base. I guess that helps a little bit to some degree. But the pickoff rule, I think, is fantastic. Mm-hmm. You can't sit there and just keep throwing over to first and throwing over to first. You get 2 attempts. You throw over twice, and if you throw that third time and you don't get the runner, they're moving to second regardless. And I think that shit's cool because people are going to be timely with it. People are going to make you think they're going to throw over. You're going to have mind games with the runner. You're going to have mind games with the pitcher. And I love the pitch clock. I thought I was going to hate the pitch clock. I agree with you. I think it's great for the game. It's gotten rid of a lot of that small dilly-dally stuff. I guess some of the negatives, I don't know about you, John. Occasionally I like to listen to a ball game on the radio.
As do I.
You're driving in the car. There's something special every once in a while. I'm like, you know what? Today's a Howie Rose game for Brian. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you have your version of that as well.
John Sterling. Yeah.
So, but I like to listen to Howie, and Howie puts out a tweet, and you know what? I respect Howie Rose, been in the game a long time, called a lot of baseball, so I'm going to respect that. But he put out a tweet saying that he didn't really like calling the new baseball era with the pitch clock and all this stuff. He said he felt like he was calling a hockey game on the radio, and he wanted to see how the fans felt about his first couple broadcasts. He was like, are you still enjoying it? Because he felt he wasn't able to talk about some of those side stories where they go on tangents about players that played in the 60s that no one really knows about except your dad and your grandpa who are listening, and they're getting really locked in. And not that they're not talking about the game. Sometimes you hear those old stories and you like to hear that stuff, right? You didn't know that before. You didn't know this about this guy. You're finding out these random factoids and whatnot. And he felt like he wasn't able to have that element of his broadcast. I guess the other thing that I'm going to be curious about that we'll kind of have to follow, I don't know if there's a way for us to even track this. Pat, this would be a great study for you to dig your teeth in. But games aren't going 3 hours and 30 minutes anymore. Are we still selling beer in the 7th inning? Are concession sales going to be down? What are we doing with concessions? So, I feel like we're going to lose some money.
I have the answer for you right now. Wow, I have the answer for you.
You're out of here.
I couldn't even
lift my phone.
So there was a study done on exactly that, on exactly what you said. And the study found, and I don't have the name of who did the study to give credit to it. I have to look up.
It was Pat Lavin.
If Pat wants to look that up. But the study found that in the shorter games, fans are actually staying longer. So the spending remains about the same. Now, the beer sales do still end in the 7th inning. So, I mean, realistically, the markup on the beer is a huge, revenue driver, but they're making it up, obviously, in other ways, whether it be soft refreshments, merchandise, whatnot. But fans are staying longer when you have the pitch clock compared to unregulated games. They would leave earlier. So the revenue matches about exactly the same.
The last piece of this, John, if we're really going to keep applauding all this, every stadium needs to be open for home and away batting practice before the game.
Oh, I would love that. Absolutely.
That was something I remember growing up, being able to go to the games and being able to catch the Mets bat, being able to catch whoever was visiting bat and run around in the field for a little bit. After that was over, you run, you grab your food, you grab a drink, you go find your seats, you get comfortable in your seats for like 20, 30 minutes, you small talk with the people around you, you start the game. Now they kind of let you in the ballpark a little bit later, where sometimes that batting practice is still going on, but it's not going on for long by the time you're in there. I wish they would give you a little bit more on the front end. Maybe you get a little more concession stuff from that. Obviously, you're saying that's not really that big a deal, but I feel like for the people that want to make a baseball game more of a production and make it be like a 5-6 hour experience, I wish they would kind of kick open the gates a little bit earlier.
No, I agree. I think that Major League Baseball is finding as a whole that their in-stadium entertainment has needed to be addressed. They've relied so much on the nostalgia, the old-time feel of a ball game, and I think it's kind of outdated them a bit, for lack of a better phrase here. Look at the Yankees opening day. They announced they were having an in-between inning DJ, a pregame DJ as well, as well as, obviously opening day, you have all the pomp and circumstance going on around you. But there's obviously a new pressure that teams are feeling to do this. I mean, look at all of these LED lighting upgrades you're seeing in stadiums across Major League Baseball now. And now when you hit a home run, it becomes a light show out there. The Yankees, before their playoff run last year, they had pregame shows. They turned out all the lights, the video, and then a spotlight appears of Nick Swisher waving a flag in the middle of the infield. And I was going nuts, but the whole stadium had no clue who it even was out there in the field, so it fell short. But there's obviously a focus now on in-game entertainment, and I think that's huge for Major League Baseball.
So you are a fan of all that extra activities? Like, were you a fan when the Mets brought out Timmy Trumpets to play Narcos? Did you think that was a cool moment, or did you think that was like...
So here's what I'll tell you.
A little extra.
I thought it was very entertaining. And I kid you not, it was on opening day, actually. It was leading up to opening day. I was up early. I was giddy. And I was flipping through YouTube, watching videos. And then that was suggested video, and I watched it in its entirety. I remember just thinking, I was enjoying the video. It's entertaining. Now, would you ask me, would I want my team to ever do something like that? No. And do I critique the Mets on that? And I think, Jerry Seinfeld was very outspoken last year when that happened, critiquing the Mets about how the whole season seemed to go off the rails after that moment. But I do think that there's obviously a need for that kind of stuff. So I understand why they do it. I think it's popular. It obviously gets clicks, views. I mean, just tonight, the game's on Amazon Video for the Yankees. They had the Jonas Brothers in the booth calling an inning, a half inning of the game. That's going to be all over the networks tomorrow. That's going to be a big deal. That's what you need. You need to get the eyeballs.
No, you're right. I mean, the people, you're going to have fans of the Jonas Brothers, like these like random girls who really don't give a shit about baseball. We're going to be sharing MLB's Instagram account on their stories.
They're so cute. You know that.
And just hearts all over them, singing about it. And you're right. It's going to get that buzz. And you got to remember, Major League Baseball is a brand, and they are an entertainment company. And there's going to be that flair for the dramatic, trying to bring people in and going over the top at times for your old fashioned baseball fan. But I think for the future and life of baseball and the love of the game, it needs to go this direction, as long as it also honors its history. And
correct. You can't turn a blind eye to it.
And I think they're doing that. And also, I don't want to gloss over this. Manfred still is trash, in my opinion, but this was a huge win for him. I don't want people walking away from this being like,
he did good.
I just don't want people walking away being like, wow, Manfred guys, not what I was expecting.
No, but how about
not a
this?
Manfred guy.
I give Manfred credit in two regards. One, he was able to salvage the baseball season last year and play 162 games when many people thought that was impossible at a point. That did happen. You got to give him credit for that. And you have to give both sides credit, but Manfred was a huge part of that. And then two, these rule changes. Now, where he struck out, I hate the Manfred man, the extra inning ghost runner on second base. That's one rule I wish went away. It's here to stay now. It is what it is. But this one with the pitch clock, I think he hit a home run. I don't know many people that will tell you they don't like this. I truly don't.
I feel like now it's time to talk about some opening day baseball ourselves, though, because the Mets, Yankees, big weekend, a lot going on. And like you said, you kind of already let off the show with it, John. I was in Miami for the first game of the season. I only stayed for the first game. And, I got to tell you a little bit about my experience here. I'm somebody who goes to a ballpark. I go really early. We're talking the batting practice team. Like I said, I like to go down to the right field corner, sit in the corner and try to wave a fly ball or wave that little ball that rolls all the way to the corner. I can't be that guy anymore. I'm past that stage. They're throwing them to like the young kids that are like, it's my first game. We've now reached the category
You're not diving over the kids and stealing the balls?
I'm not. I'm very proud of myself. But like,
oh, where's the fun?
We're now in the category though, like where, if I'm waving, yelling for the guy's name with two hands, like, please throw me a ball, I'm going to get looked at funny. So I didn't do that. However, the traffic going to Lone Depot Park is one of the biggest shit shows I have ever experienced. Now I'm thinking, as we're getting stuck in this traffic, the game starts in about an hour. The stadium is in sight. Like, I'm looking at the stadium the entire time. It's directly to my left. And they just keep sending you around the stadium and not putting you in a fucking parking garage or a parking lot. And
now, did you drive or did you Uber?
We drove. We drove, okay. Which was a little bit of a decision, but it was cheaper for parking than it would have been to Uber.
Oh.
So we all crammed in a car. And I got to tell you, it was a mess. I'm watching the clock. I'm like, wow, 45 minutes till first pitch. This is a little nerve wracking. This is uncomfortable for me, for somebody who gets to the ballpark extremely, extremely early. And we parked, got out of the car, got into the stadium. I sat down in my seat on opening day as Sandy Alcantara took the mound. I missed the entire opening ceremonies because of how bad the traffic was. It wasn't that we weren't there.
The whole reason you go to opening day.
And trust me, I'm cooled down a little bit from it, but missing that experience really set me off, and I was very upset. Up until first pitch, I was raging angry. And once the game started, kind of like took all my cares away. But like thinking of all that traffic, I'm thinking this is going to feel like a World Baseball Classic crowd. It's opening day. Maybe they finally got the buzz here for baseball down in Miami. John, that stadium was a ghost town. I have no idea why the fuck there was traffic.
I was actually just about to say, where was all the traffic?
I have no idea if there was like a sale going on, like the block over, and everyone was just trying to get there, and like the stadium was just being inconvenient. But holy fuck, that traffic.
Were the Heat playing?
I have no idea. There had to be something else going on in Miami at 4:10 on that day on March 30th. That was some of the worst traffic I've ever seen for a stadium that was like half filled, and it was half filled with New York Mets fans.
And now, that's at the site of the former Orange Bowl, correct?
It is. It is. Now, let me tell you this. I went to this venue back in like 2014 when it first kind of opened, and I wasn't very impressed. I think they did a better job of sprucing up like their food options and trying to make it something a little bit more than it was back then. I sat in the second deck. My seat was a cushion. It was a cushion seat.
Really? In the second deck, you had a cushion? In the second
deck, I had a cushion seat in section 206, and it was phenomenal. I don't know if I was in a club.
Listen,
I might have been.
There is not an ass in New York that gets cushioned in a second deck in any venue.
My ass was cushioned.
Wow.
It was cushioned. And I'll tell you what, it's not a bad ballpark. It's a nice place to watch a game.
It's come a long way, though.
It has.
From where it started, I mean, that thing was a joke. Everything with the Marlins, when they started, the logo, the uniforms, the stadium.
The Rainbow Marlin, that was terrible. I'll tell you what.
It's like the Ringling Brothers come into town.
They wore their teal uniforms the second game of the season, and just seeing those Marlin teal uniforms again,
how great were they?
I was like, just why are we not wearing these? Like, how can you go out there and wear those one game and look at yourselves and be like, how does no one think this is better than what we're wearing right now?
Oh, when I see them, I get flashbacks to 2003 in the World Series with the Yankees. You had a young Miguel Cabrera, Dontrelle Willis, and those
First
uniforms
player
are
that comes to
sharp.
mind. First player that comes to mind when you see that jersey. Who are you thinking? I got one right away.
Miguel Cabrera for me.
Mine's Dontrelle Willis.
Dontrelle, oh yeah, those are the two
The
guys.
the D train. I
Yeah,
mean,
those are the two guys.
honestly, you can even get me with a little Jorge Cantu,
Wow,
a
that's going
little
back.
Dan Ugla,
Dan
Hanley.
Ugla.
Dan,
Do,
remember
do
Dan
you?
Ugla getting traded to the
Oh my!
Braves and just disappearing from the earth?
Do you remember Dan Ugla absolutely exploding in the 2008 All-Star game?
Yeah,
He cost
Dan.
the National League the whole game.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
I think that might have been the collapse of
That
Dan
I
Ugla.
think that was the beginning of the end for Dan Ugla.
But let me tell you this, John. I did something opening day that I've never been able to do in my entire life.
And
I've
what's
been
that?
going to games for 25 plus years. We were season ticket holders for the Mets when we lived back in New York. I have never caught a fly ball. I have never had a fly ball land
Here
at
we
my
go.
feet where I could fight for a fly ball or a foul ball. Never had any of this happen. And the perfect storm unfolded for me in Miami on March 30th in the bottom of the third for a Brian De La Cruz at bat. A Brian hitting to a Brian.
Oh,
The
my
entire
God.
row in front of me decided that was the time to go get food. So the whole row in front of me, completely empty.
Oh my
An
God.
elderly gentleman 2 rows ahead of me, diehard Mets fans from New Jersey. We could talk about him later. This ball gets hit up towards the first base line. You can look it up if you like.
Pat, start
It's in his
cueing the
at bat.
dramatic music under this, all right?
But
Oh my God.
this ball gets hit up towards the first base line. And my dad, I'm sure he's listening, or maybe, every time a foul ball is hit, he does this thing where he like stretches out. People on YouTube are going to be able to see this. If you're listening to a podcast, I'll do my best here. But he fakes stretching out to catch a ball with two hands cupped together, and it could be hit to the other side of the stadium. And he'll shout, "I got it." He does it almost every time. So it fakes people out. If they're not paying attention, they all get they scatter.
He's the fun guy in the section, huh?
He really is. So he was out getting a beer at this time. He wasn't even in the stands for this moment. So I decided this was my opportunity to do the fake. Let me cup my hands and say I got it. So I did that. While the ball was so far away still, I was like, I got it. I did this whole thing, right? The ball bounces off the railing of the second deck and then ricochets up straight into the stands. Like it got like a kick straight up at us. And it went, I didn't even have to move. I just kept my hands cupped directly in front of my chest. It landed perfectly in my hands. And I think I know, I think it was the greatest moment of my life. And I don't know if I really don't know. John, I forgot about the Miami traffic. I forgot about missing the opening day ceremonies. I thought about the joy I felt in that moment. And I don't think I will ever top it. It was special to catch it on the fly. I didn't have to like fight in like beer and peanut shells and all debris of a stadium to beat a 6-year-old and then feel bad and have to hand him the ball. The ball landed in my chest. And the best part was directly in front of me, the row that wasn't there, there was like a 5-year-old Mets fan with his dad. If they were there and I caught it, I would have probably had to have given that ball to that kid.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You know, and
otherwise
you're
a scumbag.
And you want to know where that ball is right now, John? It's on my fucking wall on this little stand here that's been here the whole time if you've been watching the YouTube, and it's right here. And Max Scherzer had his hand on this ball where he threw a ball to Brian De La Cruz, who fouled it off to me, and you could see the little scuff on the I got to find it. There it is, bad radio, but there's a scuff on the ball from the bat. And me and Max Scherzer touched this ball. He touched it. He touched it. It got hit. Then I touched it. We touched this ball back to back.
I have two things. Okay.
I am Max Scherzer.
Did you just say that ball holder on your wall has been there the whole time?
No, I'm sorry. Let me reiterate. I bought the ball holder for the ball after I caught the foul ball, but the ball has been in the shot of this podcast the entire episode, and people haven't even noticed it. Now, every time they watch the YouTube, they will know that ball up here was hit by
the first
Brian
time
De La
hearing
Cruz.
of it too.
Brian De La Cruz in the third inning Max Scherzer touched it. I touched it. You know that. I told you that, but you will never forget that.
Now,
Like in 2 years' time, John, I'm going to point to that ball and say, who hit it and who threw it? And what's the answer?
the answer is going to be you tell me who, and then how are you going to
No.
prove? How are you going to prove?
Come on.
How are you going to prove it? Where's the
All right.
certificate of authenticity?
Here's the thing. It was not on the SNY feed, and I don't have access to the Marlins feed to know if it was on that feed.
You can't look at it now. The game's over.
I tried. I'm blacked out. Here's this little spoiler. I live in Florida. This is why Manfred still sucks. I don't know if this is him or not, but I'm blacked out where I can't watch Mets Marlins when I live in fucking Florida.
I could go on for hours about the blackout rules and how ridiculous they are for the game.
Somebody go on Reddit, find the Marlins Mets stream from opening day, third inning. Again, Brian De La Cruz, foul ball to the first base line. I caught it.
Listen, because without video, this story has absolutely no validity whatsoever. I mean, you could have taken a baseball, you could have scuffed it up a little bit, and then brought it in here and had this whole story. Try to get listeners. It's a good story. I mean, it's smart. It's benefiting me if you are doing that.
Was the Brian to Brian part too much? Was that the overkill?
I think that was definitely part of it. That's when you started to lose me. Now,
I'm not going to lie. There's a photo of me holding the ball. It looks like I'm crying. I'm not, but I might be. So.
Oh, my God. It's my second question, though, for you. Did you say you were at the game with your father and your father wasn't there when this happened?
Correct. My brother-in-law was with me when it happened.
You were at – that's fine. But you were at opening day, a Major League Baseball opening day, seeing the team – that your father rooted for and taught you everything about the game, and he missed this moment.
Yeah, I think I would have rathered him miss my wedding.
Are you upset by the fact that he missed it?
You know, I didn't think about that side of it until now.
Is he upset?
I don't think so.
I remember. Listen, I remember in 2009 when the Yankees won the World Series. I was with my dad. I stayed in, and I stayed at home, and I watched that game with my dad, and he had to walk away in the ninth inning and walk into the other room in isolation. And then as soon as the ground ball was hit to Robinson Cano, he came running in, and we had a moment where we hugged, and it was, to this day, a core memory. And now your dad missed you catch a foul ball at a baseball game.
You know, that story is a kick in the dick, almost like Brian Anderson hitting his second home run of the night to make it 8-0 Milwaukee. Ooh. But yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that story. Thank you, Brian Anderson.
Yankees aren't doing much better right now. We're losing. We're about to hand Philly the first win of the year.
Listen, Brian Anderson breaking my heart. Brian De La Cruz making my year. You know, the Bryans are just giving me that little yin and yang action. But John, there was a lot of baseball that happened down in Miami, and I am sorry for going on that little sidetrack for you, but let me just give you some spark notes. Obviously, right before opening day, Justin Verlander finds himself on the IL for an injury to a body part that I have never heard of, that I probably can't pronounce. So I'm going to let you just Google it, and you could figure out what that is. And once you figure out,
wasn't it the teres major?
Yeah, whatever that is, John, I'll donate it to that man because I would like him pitching. So, but we talked about on the first episode how there was a little pitching battle between David Peterson and Tyler McGill. Peterson wins the job. McGill goes down to Syracuse, or up to Syracuse. Doesn't even get to pitch a game. He immediately is called upon to join the Mets starting rotation, and he pitches for the Mets on game 3. And just wanted to shout out David Peterson and Tyler McGill, both pitched really solid for the Mets in that first series against the Marlins. It's obviously been a weird emotional spring trying to win a job, so getting an opportunity right away is and taking advantage of it is pretty special. And honestly, if Carlos Carrasco keeps pitching the way that he's been pitching, I think you're going to see a shit ton of Tyler McGill this year. So, you know, even if he's not in this rotation right away, I think you're going to see a lot of David Peterson, a lot of Tyler McGill. You know, and we'll just kind of see what we have in these guys by the end of the year. Another guy to kind of point out, John, we got to see Senga. Oh,
yeah. Senga, he looked great. He really did.
You know what? Everything. He looked great, but that first inning was one of the most terrifying first innings of my entire life because he was nervous.
Right, and absolutely.
And you know what? It was obvious he was nervous. He was pacing in the dugout. The Mets gave him a lead right away in the top of the first. He couldn't find the zone. He was wild. He let go one run pretty early on, and then from then on, he got into the 6th inning after throwing like 35 plus pitches in the first. He ends up striking out 8 guys. And I'm telling you, we were talking about Anthony Volpe. Sorry, I don't want to disrespect your boy. You're talking about American League Rookie
You
of the
got you
Year.
got two teams to concentrate on. You can't get Volpe's name right. He's the talk of the town.
I'll talk about him later. I got some stuff on him.
Oh,
But we're talking about that kid for Rookie of the Year in the AL. I think people forget that Kodai is going to have a shot at the NL Rookie of the Year, and he's already like an established pitcher over.
I always hate that. And this is nothing against the Mets because I've been saying this for years.
Okay.
I hate the Rookie of the Year award going to an established player from Japan. That's not right to me. That's not the spirit of the award. I understand on a technicality they are a rookie. That is not the spirit of the Rookie of the Year. And I didn't like it when Ohtani. I didn't like it now with Senga. I didn't like it with Hideki Matsui. I'm not a proponent of it.
You could poo-poo it and say it's not in the spirit of the award, but the award like selectors, the writers, they're going to pick him if he's deserving. So the Mets have a legit shot at having a Rookie of the Year on their roster as well.
Writers Association, they never get it wrong. Let me tell you.
No, I'll tell you, that's a good group. They are on it. They are freaking special, man. But that first inning, like I said, was terrifying. We got to see the ghost forkball, kind of a different pitch that we haven't seen before.
How about the glove too? I liked his glove.
The glove was cool. Having the ghost holding the with like the trident.
Now wasn't that ghost though? Isn't that the same ghost that's on an energy drink somewhere?
You're gonna have to give me more than that. I'll agree with you just to agree with you if you want.
I think it's C4. If you look up C4, they're like
that pre-workout
Sour Patch Kid one. Well, yes, but C4, the energy drink, they have a Sour Patch Kid flavor. I'm pretty sure it's that exact same ghost on there. So is he committing copyright infringement on the glove?
All right, we're not going to do this.
Oh.
All right.
I'm just saying. Look out.
If he gets sued, I'm sure the Mets will hold it. Pat is showing a photo up for our YouTube listeners.
There we go. All right, no,
similar.
That's a different ghost. That's a different ghost.
Similar, but not the same.
That's right. Senga's is more like the Snapchat ghost.
But I guess another thing, John, for you before we kind of transition here into some Yankee baseball talk, I want to shout out two more things. Francisco Lindor's defense this first series. Obviously, the guy's a Gold Glover. He's one of the best defensive shortstops. He's one of the best shortstops in Major League Baseball.
He looked great.
But this first series in Miami with him at short, he looked different. Like he just looked like he's on a mission. So I don't think it's really a bold prediction at all. But like, if he does a season like that, he's going to get some more hardware in his future for another Gold Glove. But that was pretty special. We put out a clip on Instagram and TikTok of some of his best plays in Miami. If you want to kind of see a little collab of all that, but he just looked good. And shout out the Mets bullpen too. 16 and a half innings. They only let go one run. Obviously, all the eyes are going to be on the Mets bullpen without Edwin Diaz in the mix. Everyone's like, how are they going to do? How are they going to respond? Their first opportunity to step on the field. They kind of silenced a lot of early question marks. Obviously, that's going to be looked at as a storyline throughout the year. You're not going to overreact to April, but that first little taste of the Mets bullpen, they looked pretty solid. So overall, taking 3 out of 4 was a nice way to start the year. I wish, the problem is we got the Met game on right now, and they're down 9-0 after losing 10-0 the first game of this Milwaukee series.
Mm-hmm.
So I was coming in flying high, being like, hey, 3 or 4 of Miami. These 2 Brewers games right now, obviously this game is not over, but when you have been outscored 19-0 in your first 2 games in Milwaukee, not good, especially when the Mets of last year, John, they only lost by 10 twice all season.
Is that right? Wow, I actually didn't know that.
They might lose by 10 back-to-back nights in April. Wow. And I do think the 2023 Mets are a hell of a lot like the 2022 Mets. It's kind of the same club, different font. But, we'll kind of see what happens. I overall, I'm in a decent place with the Mets. Not a great spot. If you had a meter from like feeling good, feeling shitty, feeling all right, I'd be right smack in the middle. I feel decent with the New York Mets. But there's another team across town over in the Bronx. The only team to actually play in New York so far this year. Like the Mets have played their first 2 series on the road. New York Yankees opened up against the San Francisco Giants. And I got to hear your talk. I got to hear you talk about this, John, because you kind of alluded to it in your YouTube video. But Aaron Judge opening up against the
Oh,
San Francisco Giants, I don't know why I didn't think of that. And for Yankee fans, that had to just have a completely different feel to it.
it really did. And I talked about it. I gave a instant reaction on YouTube over the weekend, right after the game. If you haven't checked it out, go ahead, give it a listen. But a quick Cliff Note version of that, I talked about how surreal on opening day it felt when they were introducing San Francisco. And as the players took the field, I couldn't help but imagine Aaron Judge in that San Francisco road gray uniform. Had he been standing on the third baseline at Yankee Stadium, just how different the day would have felt. And now, thank God that's not how it happened, but it was a great opening day. I enjoyed it. That was a great opening day. I really enjoyed it from start to finish. I thought it was great. I enjoyed the pregame festivities. I enjoyed the game. The stadium looked fantastic. Always that first day when you have the bunting lined up. Oh, it's beautiful and picturesque.
Big
Garrett,
bunting guy.
huge bunting guy. I love bunting. That's one thing about me. I love the bunting. I buy it for my home. I have it all over. But Garrett Cole went out and he made sure that all of that was not forgotten. He gave you a hell of a performance, which we talked about is going to be so important. You have to win every game Cole is on the mound right now while your starting pitching is absolutely decimated. And he did exactly that. He proved his worth for the money on opening day. Now you hope that continues. Aaron Judge, though, first at bat, second pitch of the at bat. He goes long to straight away center field. I mean, it's video game stuff. He looked absolutely phenomenal. He had another home run over the weekend, the same game that Stanton hit a home run. And when Judge and Stanton hit home runs in the same game, the Yankees are unstoppable. I don't have the exact stat on me, Pat. If you want to look that up, when Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton homer in the same game, I believe there's something like 22-0, something ridiculous. They don't lose. If Stanton and Judge both go yard, the game's basically over. They did exactly that on Sunday in the rubber game of the series. We love that. Volpe finally got his first hit in the major leagues on Saturday, and in a bit of an ugly game for the Yanks. Nonetheless, he gets that out of the way. Sunday, he gets another hit. Tonight, he's got another hit for the Yankees as well, too, and he's showing you what he can do on the base paths. And to me, that's what I'm most excited about when it comes to Anthony Volpe, is his speed and his ability to disrupt the game while on the base paths. And you see it as soon as he gets on, pitchers are throwing over. And when you see a lot of pitchers not throwing over with the new rules, they are sure to keep an eye on Volpe. So that's been absolutely fantastic. We haven't had that in quite some time. We love that. The pitching, the starting pitching, hey, listen, you were holding your breath. If you got about half of what they've given you, you'd sign up for that any day. But where they are right now, I mean, my God, this is absolutely fantastic. How does it get better than that? Now, a few negatives I got to touch on. I got two, all right? Number one, and I talked about this the other day, Clay Holmes is a liability. He's a major liability for the Yanks. He showed you that on the Saturday game, letting up a few runs there in the ninth. I don't trust Clay Holmes. Now, he came out last night against Philadelphia in an absolute, it was a mop-up role, but he came in the ninth regardless. He let up a hit, but got out with no runs. I want to see him in some more pressure-filled situations, but I don't like Clay Holmes. Early signs aren't great. My second thing. Now, this one I got to complain about. Okay, this might be a second. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Now, I am very happy when spring training ended and everyone came up to New York and we started the regular season. You're happy. I'm sure you're quite happy. The regular season has begun. Mets are out in Milwaukee. They're about to be coming to Flushing this week. You know who's not happy that they're no longer in Florida?
Are you asking?
No, I'm asking. Do you know who's not happy?
I don't. Who's not happy they're not in Florida anymore?
someone who has now been separated from their favorite place to live in Orlando, Florida, home of Fantasyland. And that is Aaron Hicks. Because Aaron Hicks showed you this weekend that he lives in Fantasyland. Aaron Hicks. I honestly, I can't believe this. Aaron Hicks actually came out to The Athletic and gave a sob story and voiced his frustration that he doesn't know what his role is on this team, and went as far to say, if you would have told him in spring training that he wouldn't have started one game during that first 3 games, he would have said, you're crazy. But that's what happened. And now he comes out and throws an absolute fit. An absolute fit. He doesn't know what his role is. Well, I'll tell you what your role is, Aaron. You're riding the bench because you've underperformed for multiple seasons now. And you can't keep running you out there. I mean, how delusional do you need to be to honestly complain that you're not given starts after the abysmal seasons you've had? I mean, don't give it. This guy, you can't even defend him anymore. When he wasn't hitting, you're saying, oh, but the defensive metrics are there. And then when his defense wasn't there, oh, but he's a high on base guy. Now he's not even getting on base. You know what he is? He's a contract. Now, where the Mets and Steve Cohen are showing you, they're willing to bite the bullet and, release these guys and eat that money. The Yankees are holding on to their guys, and Aaron Hicks is prime example number 1. And we're at a point now where we've run Hicks into the starting lineup. Last night against Philly, they ran him out again tonight. You know what he did last night? He had an offer. He didn't have a hit. You know what he's done tonight? He has an offer. He's 0 for 3. I'm done with Aaron Hicks. Now,
you're not letting him get hot. You're not getting him as at bats.
No, he's had multiple years to get hot. He's done at this point. He's done. You can't. He's not a starter. He's not a starter in Major League Baseball. And Aaron Hicks, he should count his blessings that he gets to watch the Yankees.
Bring back Brett Gardner.
Oh, I was upset. I was upset about one thing with Anthony Volpe this weekend.
He took Gardner's number.
He took Gardner's number.
It's not going to be a Monument Park, John.
No, I know that, but geez, let the condensation evaporate from his locker a little first. My God, he just left. I mean, people are scared. They tiptoe around A-Rod's number, like it's sacrilegious to put a 13 on unless you're Joey Gallo. And now I think people are just scared after what Gallo did with 13. But let me get back to Hicks.
Joey Gallo's got 2 home runs for the Twins already this season.
He does. He's looked great.
Watch your mouth. Yeah, you watch.
You know what? He's been better than Aaron Hicks. I'll tell you that.
No Joey Gallo disrespect on this podcast.
Aaron Hicks. Let's end it with this. If any of you went into your job and you took a dump on your boss's desk and then 2 days later went to the boss and said, hey, how come Jim got promoted instead of me? Well, you took a shit on your boss's desk. Why, in what world do you expect to be rewarded for failure? I mean, my God, you can't make it up. You can't make it up. This guy is insane. And I understand you're frustrated. But again, you have 2 options here. You either enjoy being a part of a winning team and rise to the occasion and accept that you've moved roles and you contribute when called upon, or you leave and you go to a bottom feeder in the middle of the NL Central. Okay? That's what Brian Reynolds wants to do. Brian Reynolds has shown with his new no-trade clause that he wants to negotiate with Pittsburgh. He doesn't want to be in a contender. Well, you know what? Aaron Hicks might be joining him. He might be right behind them to the bottom of the NL Central soon. And then, see if you're happy. Hey, you're starting every game. You're still going 0 for 4. Hey, maybe you get a hit every now and then.
I don't like the Brian Reynolds slander there.
Why?
I don't like that.
What do you not like about it?
He came up with the Pirates. He feels loyal to that organization to be there for whenever they turn the corner. We're gonna shame a guy for being loyal to his
No,
organization.
it's not about that. It's over the weekend. They talk about that and it comes to an extension with Brian Reynolds. One major hangup is a no trade clause, and Reynolds wants to determine where he goes, because let's be serious. We all know that this isn't going to last forever. Even Andrew McCutchen left Pittsburgh. You feel bad for Pittsburgh with the ownership group in there, because that's a great sports city, Pittsburgh. As much as I loathe them,
Beautiful fucking ballpark too.
it's absolute. Have you been
PNC
there?
Park is
Oh my
stunning.
God! Right off the Allegheny, it's beautiful. They close the bridges. You walk across those bridges. Oh my God, it's wonderful. And the owners, they don't care. They can give two craps less about the team. And it's a shame, because it really is a great sports city. It's a beautiful ballpark, but they don't retain their guys. So then Brian Reynolds, when he's renegotiating this contract, he doesn't want to go to a big market team. That's at least the vibe he's giving off. So, listen, there's guys that come along that are like that. You look at Zach Greinke, where,
I thought of Zach Greinke right away. Going to LA was like a big thing.
Yeah, right. I guess, maybe it's the psyche. We're seeing that more and more. Hey, and actually just this past weekend, how about hats off to Daniel Bard? Now, Daniel Bard, the same man and LeMahieu hits a home run for the Yankees in the bottom of the ninth with trailing 4-0, makes it a 3-run game. We'll see if the Yankees can do anything going here. Got Craig Kimbrell on the mound. You know what Craig Kimbrell's ERA is right now?
Are you talking about lifetime or this season?
No, right now at this point in the season.
Probably like 27.
How about 40.50?
That's pretty good. Did it just go up after the home run, or is it after the home run?
That's not even unless
that's
pre-homer. Updated. Oh, no, there it is. So now his ERA is increased to 54.0.
Love those April stats.
I love that. How about that? But
you're gonna ask me something.
I don't even know what I was gonna ask you anymore.
You got all caught up. I did. LeMahieu making you feel a certain way.
I'm just hoping for a late inning rally here.
Well, you were talking about Daniel Bard.
Oh, Daniel Bard. Over this weekend, Daniel Bard, he started the season on the injured list. And did you hear the reason why?
I did, yes.
Yeah, because of anxiety. Now, this is, I hats off to him for at least being honest and saying, hey, this is what's going on. You don't see that ever. And I thought that was a really cool thing by Bard. He obviously just came off the World Baseball Classic. He pretty much ended Altuve's start of the year with that hit by pitch on the hand there. I don't know if that had anything to do with where he's at, or it's just, general anxiety. But either way, hats off to him. But I think you're starting to see that more and more with players now, where they're just not all cut out to be in a big market and have that kind of pressure. Maybe it's not cut out, but they just don't want to deal with that stress.
Well, I think also, just like John, we're also now in a spot where, I don't think anxiety is a new thing. I don't think this is something that's like just come along. I think it's just now becoming a little bit, it's easier to talk about that stuff. It's more acceptable, as it always probably should have been, but probably wasn't. So these guys feel comfortable being like, okay, listen, right now, I'm not really there mentally. And I think if I step away for like a week or two, kind of take a step back, I think I'll be ready to go. Just, give me that reset time and, everything will be all right. And, maybe this stuff has been happening, guys like Daniel Bard for a really long time. And maybe they're just like, hey, elbow tendonitis this week. You need to clear your head for a little bit. You never know if they've come up with that stuff. We're not in the locker room. We're not seeing the imaging. And I'm sure maybe stuff like that has taken place throughout the era of sports, not just baseball. But yeah, you're right. Hats off to him for being able to, kind of talk about that openly and be honest with everybody. And, he was such a great story coming back. I mean, ultimate guy who suffered from probably just like the yips, like an ultimate case of the yips, his first time around in the big leagues. And he was able to come back and, really turn himself into a special player for the Rockies. So you hope everything kind of goes well there. We're talking Rockies baseball somehow, some way. But John, I kind of want to talk to you about a couple teams that I like this season. And I like these teams, and I don't know why. And I don't know if that's the best way to describe this. By me liking these teams, I think I'm going to secretly kind of like root for them throughout the year. Okay. I'm not saying they're going to be playoff teams. I'm saying they could be fun. They could be frisky. They could be young. They could be old as shit and just got guys that I like kind of just compiled up on that roster.
Sure.
Now, I don't like this team, but for a Mets fan, I'm sure there's a couple of Mets fans that are going to be rooting for the San Francisco Giants. You got Wilmer Flores. You got Michael Conforto. You got J.D. Davis. You got a couple old faces where you're just looking at that.
I know.
It's like Mets 2016 West over there.
It is. That's all I was thinking this weekend on opening day when they were introducing that team. That's what, my God, they got a lot of former Mets on that roster.
That being said, not one of the teams that's really sticking out for me. I think I kind of alluded to this a little bit in episode 1, John, but I love the Chicago Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
The more I look at the Chicago Cubs team, I just think they're fucking fun, man. I think they got a couple like young guys that are up and coming. They got a couple guys trying to reestablish their career with a Cody Bellinger. Like, can you imagine if Cody Bellinger has a fantastic year? Dansby Swanson's solid. Eric Hosmer has a little bit of a bounce back year for him. Their young guys kind of come to play, and the Cubs can just they're not going to make the playoffs, I don't think, but they could just be a fun team to watch out in Chicago where you're like, all right, they're back on the rise. I think
it comes down to their young guys.
I think the Cubs are just like one of those teams for me where baseball is more fun when the Cubs are good.
I agree.
think I like Wrigley being a special place. And when the Cubs are a mess and they're a dumpster fire and going to Wrigley isn't a competitive ball game, but it's just a trip to the ballpark just to be at Wrigley Field, I think it's more fun when you're going to Wrigley and there's something on the line and it's a little more fun. And honestly, that's probably a lot of people probably feel that way about the Boston Red Sox. And John, I don't know if it's a ballpark thing, but that's actually my second team, and that's not to aggravate you in any way. I think I like the Red Sox roster. I think they got that mishmash of a bunch of misfit toys that everyone's like, Bloom tanked the Red Sox. And I just feel like they're a team that nobody likes. And I think that's what makes me kind of like them.
You see, I don't know.
Former Met Justin Turner out there too. They lost all these guys. Like Devers decides to stay. They can't retain. They get rid of everybody else. And everybody kind of is like, all right, the Red Sox are going to be gone for a little bit. They also have a couple young pieces that need to kind of blossom and turn into actual players for them. But I don't know. I just feel like, they're going to have that mindset of like, nobody thinks we're going to be anything. So I think they're just going to be scrappy and annoying. I don't think they're a playoff team. I don't think they're close to a playoff team. But I think the Red Sox are going to give people fits. I think they got some people that are just going to annoy you, and they're gonna nickel and dime you a little bit. You're going to get frustrated. You know what the Red Sox are going to do? They're going to go station to station on you.
I think Boston had a pretty good opening weekend, but ultimately, I don't like Boston. As Donaldson pops out to end the game, Yankees give Phillies their first win of the year. I think Boston is going to crash and burn. I do. I think shortly too.
John, remember, this is not teams we think will make the playoffs. Right. Just teams that you think will be kind of fun.
Well, I don't know how fun they're going to be in a few weeks. But
maybe it's just a ballpark thing. Maybe I got like a fetish for Fenway and Wrigley, and I secretly just want those places to be fun.
There's a whole notion as Yankee fans we acknowledge. We call it Met Sox fans, where you two are just all over each other.
No, I'm not. I'm not one of those. I'm not. Because
you know what? The praises of Fenway Park.
I am an unbiased journalist.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll use journalist loose.
Thank you. What teams you like?
All right. So I actually got an in-division team for you. I like Miami. I do. And that's not about so much the performance. However, I do think they could give some teams, a bit of a run here and there. But why I like Miami? First off, I absolutely love the mental pretzels that Jazz Chisholm gives visiting broadcasters when he is in the game. And now, have you heard any of this yet?
No. What mental pretzel is he providing?
I actually think it was either Howie Rose or it was Gary Cohen who switched a few letters.
It was Keith.
Are you trying to say the pronunciation?
Yes.
Listen, anything that Keith Hernandez does, you cannot use as the standard.
No. It's not pronunciation. He switched 2 letters around. Jazz Chisholm.
Yep, that's his actual name.
Right.
Not what Keith said.
That's not what Keith said.
What did Keith say?
Do we have a clip? Do we have a clip that we can play of it?
I can put it in right here.
Right. Chaz Chisholm. That's not his name.
That's why
not his name. And that's not the first time. That's not the first time. Well, I enjoy that. That's part.
That's why you think you like Miami? Come on, John. Why do you like Miami?
I like Miami for more than that, but boy, that's fun. But let's talk about those uniforms again, man. Boy, are they sharp. I like those uniforms. Man, here's the thing, right? Miami, it's time to go back to the original uniforms. Now, maybe you can keep Miami instead of Florida, if that's what you want to do. But let's, make the logo almost identical to the Florida Marlin logo with the M. But let's bring back the teal and the pinstripes. That is the best look for you. Let's go that route. You're finally bringing your stadium back from a circus to a professional stadium. So let's keep the look going with the team's look on the field as well, too. I love those uniforms. They're fantastic. I also think they're going to win a few games here and there, and they're going to play spoiler towards the end of the year. So that, I think, down the road is going to be fun, similar to how they did last year. Okay. My second team I mentioned, it's not so much that I like them. I don't. I have a little bit of, as a Yankee fan, there's a little bit of beef here. But I like Chicago. I like the White Sox. I do. I think they're going to be a under-the-radar fun team to watch this year. I think Cleveland's time in the AL Central is going to come to an end, and I think Chicago is going to do that. And Chicago, to your point, it's one of those cities that when they're good, when they're in it, baseball is better. Boston won, Chicago won. The Dodgers are another. No one cares about the Angels, the Yankees, and the Mets when either of them are good. Those are the teams that really move the needle for you. So I like them as well, too. Even though it might not be the Cubbies' turn yet, and the White Sox do play second fiddle in town, I like the White Sox.
Okay. I feel like that's fair. Would it make you feel any better about my Red Sox pick that I almost said the Orioles?
Really? Baltimore looked pretty good. I liked Baltimore more than Boston in that opening series, to be honest with you.
The Orioles are going to be just like that young team trying to prove something to themselves, very similar to they were last year. And, they didn't really do, credit to, I guess, a little bit Seattle. Seattle has at least tried to beef up their roster a little bit over the last couple of years with trying to do some trades and some acquisitions. You would love for the Orioles to kind of take that next step, almost like what Seattle did. Like, all right, we got something going here. We got a couple of young guys that we could build this like a roster around. Let's start bringing in some guys now to complement this. We'll see if the Baltimore Orioles try to take a step like that, maybe at the trade deadline or something, even if it's not for this year, but maybe for the future. But I would like to see them start investing a little bit in Baltimore because I do think they got a fun nucleus of guys that are going to be coming up through there. So that'd be kind of something to watch there.
Did you see how they lost that game against Boston over the weekend?
I did.
In the ninth? Oh, that's tough.
Adam Duvall.
Oh, you dropped the pop fly in left field, and then Duvall hits
a random vet that people count out. Adam Duvall.
Yeah,
the whole fucking team. The whole team is that.
Yeah, you're not wrong. That
Justin Turner. People, as he passed the time, like just I like
Turner still. I think he's still got plenty to give.
So we'll kind of see. And also, Justin Turner looks like a Boston Red Sox.
Hey, let me ask you one other thing. Did you see any of this in Oakland over the weekend with Rendon?
I did.
We were just talking about him the other day, and he swings at a fan.
Pat's former third baseman, national fan Pat, when Pat was a fan of the Nationals, Anthony Rendon was his guy.
My
guy. What is he doing?
I wouldn't say he's your guy now. He's formerly your guy.
Yes, former. I don't condone those actions.
How have we not have they announced the punishment yet?
Yeah, he originally got 5 games. He appealed it, and then instantly they reduced it to 4 games, and he's now going to serve a 4-game suspension. 4 games. I think that's getting off pretty light. To swing at a fan, I mean, it's a little That's a little bit different than just an
You know,
altercation.
very similar to his Angels career, though, John. A swing and a miss. Didn't make contact with the fan. He whiffed.
You better watch out. He's going to come and want to knock you out too.
Hey,
You're
I'll feel pretty good. I just got to
talking
move a
about
little
him
bit.
behind his back. Yeah.
I'm not talking behind his back. Listen, I don't think I would say it to his face.
All right, there you go. That's his problem. That's why he swung at the fan.
I think no, the fan said it to his face, so he swung at him. I will do the respectful thing, like most people do. I will talk shit behind his back, and he will appreciate that. And it might get back to him through like 3 different people, and he's not really going to know the source. So I think we'll be all right.
Between that and your foul ball catch, let me tell you, you're a real American hero.
You know, I try. John, you want to talk about some heroes? We got some player highlights to do this week.
Let's go.
We're now, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. Player highlights. I'm going to highlight a Met. You're going to highlight a Yankee.
Okay.
Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
You're not going to highlight a Met on me? You're not going to sneak attack me?
No, I'll give you I mean, I can, but I'll give you a Yankee.
No, all right. I just want to make sure. So my guy, I actually feel dirty giving this player a highlight almost in a way, but I think I have to get over this. I'm going to highlight Tommy Pham because I think a lot of Met fans are going to rule this guy out. They're frustrated that he's here as an option. They thought maybe there's better options. Maybe guys almost like the one who hit the home run out in Boston, Adam Duvall. And
he's got his new contact lenses though now.
Listen, that's part of the standout. Little spoiler.
Oh.
But he said that he had a good day at the plate because he has a different prescription in his contact lenses, a better one that he had in spring training, and he was seeing the ball a lot better. So he hits his first home run as a Met, drives in like 3 or 4 runs. They win the game basically off of his bat. And, you know, I just want to give him a little shout out. I don't want to rule him out as like a completely useless player. I think a lot of people on the Mets, like fan bases, already anti Tommy Pham and just have like a negative taste in their mouth. Give the guy a shot. Give the guy a shot. Give him an opportunity. Let him do something that makes us hate him. Don't just hate.
History.
Don't just hate him because he's here and he's not who you necessarily wanted. You know, the front office recently has been really good to the Mets. You know, if they thought this was the pick, they thought this was the guy. You know, give the front office the benefit of the doubt by rooting for Tommy Pham, being positive about him. If he struggles for 2 weeks, don't fucking take a pitchfork and try to chase him out of town. Let him go through a full fucking season unless something goes like god awful and he's like 0 for 60 in the middle of May. You know, obviously we're in a different conversation. But
I like Pham. I mean, he's got a good track record. He's not the sexy pick to bring in. You know, he's not the Carlos Correa that you guys all flirted with, you know, in the off season. But Pham, he's got a track record. He plays hard. You know, you know what you're getting with him. I think there's a bit of a higher ceiling than a lot of people think there is with Pham. I really do like that pickup, and I agree. You got to give him a chance.
So that's my guy. Honorable mention to Omar Narvaez. Already has done more for the Mets than James McCann did in 2 years. So pretty special.
What a disaster that McCann signing was, huh?
Yeah, you know, you want to know a bad Mets moment, John? There's a side-by-side graphic of James McCann's career stats next to Real Amuto's career stats, and everybody being like, "Hey, we got the same guy. We're good. These guys are the same. They do the same stuff. They hit the same. We'll be all right." James McCann was. I gotta say this. I'm gonna try to be nice here. I think he's a nice guy. I think he's a good human. And I like to be somewhat fair to people that are good human beings. Got a great family. He's got twin boys. They're very pro Mets. You know, they were very nice to everyone in New York. But goddamn, did he fucking suck. He was a nightmare. That guy was a automatic ground ball double play if you had a runner on first. Like, you just knew a double play was coming.
I mean,
so I wish him the best in Baltimore.
You could say that New York was 0 for 2 with McCann's, huh? The Yankees with Brian McCann, the Mets with James McCann. It just didn't work out for him.
I guess you McCann.
Oh, there you go.
Do it.
On that note, we'll swing to me. I will tell you the standout player for me this week was going to, well, listen, every part of me wanted to say Anthony Volpe, and I do think eventually we'll get to Volpe. But ultimately, the guy who stood out the most to me was going to be Nestor Cortez. And Nestor Cortez, I give him that honor because going into this game, as I've highlighted before, I wasn't really sure what to expect. He had a great year last year, and I think a lot of us, including me, feared that that was a one and done, a bit of a flash in the pan, if you will. But he went out there and he looked good. Now, I made a tweet over the weekend, too.
You made a tweet.
I made a tweet.
Thanks, Gramps.
Did you see? I'm not the best with social media. You'll come to see. I try. I go out there. I try. I'm like a little bit better than Mike Francesa on Twitter. That's about my bar.
You are
okay?
the James McCann of tweeting.
Sure. Understand and deserved. And I will own that. And you know what I won't ask? For Twitter to verify me or make me do like a takeover thing, because I understand I'm falling short. And Aaron Hicks should take that same approach.
All right. Who's your
Anyway.
standout?
Anyway, Nestor Cortez, as I said. But did you see his cleats this weekend at all?
I did not see his cleats, no.
They're white cleats with his mustache just all over the white cleats.
Ooh.
And everyone's told me, right, they're nice. But all I'm thinking was, just a few years back, Brett Gardner, he just wore white New Balance cleats during a game. White New Balance cleats. You know, Dad coming into the game here with his New Balances on. And Brian Cashman, he about had an aneurysm. And he went out and he called out Brett Gardner to the press that was unacceptable and he needs to follow the uniform codes and force Brett Gardner to issue a public apology. And this was like the biggest news cycle on Yankee State Television, the Yes Network, that whole week about Brett Gardner's cleats. And here we are with Nestor Cortez with white cleats with mustaches drawn on. So, and Anthony Volpe, he had custom cleats as well, too. So it's just mind-blowing.
No comment from Brian Cashman?
No. Quiet as a church mouse. Would you believe that?
So far.
No, so, yeah, we'll see.
We'll see if he wears them again. I guess that will be the tell, right?
I think he will. Although I think he has a deal with his cleat guy, and he's going to have a new pair every start or something like that, which should be interesting. I mean, as long as that doesn't become a bigger attraction than his pitching. But as I said, you didn't know what you were expecting from him coming into this weekend, and he looked everything you remembered. He had one inning where he got a little bit messy there, but in typical Nestor fashion, he kind of bailed himself out on a freak play. Franchi Cordero came up gunning from right field and just completely overthrew every cutoff man like it was a game of Little League Baseball. Fired to home plate, overthrew the catcher, and Cortez was backing up beautifully, caught the ball with his momentum going against him through to third, got the runner at third to end an inning where they could have threatened for more. But other than that inning, I thought Cortez looked phenomenal. You hope he brings out that for the next start. So Nestor's my pick for the guy who stood out the most for me. Now, I have one final segment for us. This is a new segment we're introducing. Okay? And I think it plays well into our Yankees-Mets station-to-station dynamic here. You ready?
I'm ready.
It's called Something Sweet.
Okay.
And what we're going to do is you are going to say one sweet thing, one nice thing about the New York Yankees.
All right, let me get my Listerine. I'm going to wash my mouth out after this.
And I am going to say one nice thing about the New York Mets.
Okay.
From our observations so far.
Are you going to, is this
every week?
Are you swindling me?
No.
You trying to sneak attack me? Like, am I going to say something nice and then you're going to knock me in the back of the head?
No, because I have something that really stood out to me that I enjoyed from your weekend.
Okay. Was it me catching the foul ball?
It was not you catching a foul ball. I don't even know if that happened, but I'm going to let you lead off.
Okay. All right. I'm going to say something sweet about the Yankees. I'm going to say it. This is a little tough for me. I'm getting a little choked up here.
Here we go.
I think your boy, Anthony Volpe, is hard to root against. And that is something sweet for me. I think he's incredibly likable. I was watching clips of him talking to the press. I was watching him steal a base and just how he kind of plays the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just watching this kid living his dream, playing for the New York Yankees. And I got to tell you, I found myself smiling, being like,
Yeah.
I like this kid. And like I don't want to like him because he's like gonna hope it's I mean, potentially he could be like the face of your team if as long as everything pans out. This guy could be a stud with Judge.
Right.
But you know what? Like I kind of want to root with him. I want to root for him with you. I don't know if I'm fully there yet, but that's kind of the feeling I got from just like the first little impression of him where like kid's hard to root against. And if you're rooting
Yeah.
against him just because he's a Yankee, you know, I respect that. I respect that stance. I respect your hatred for the crosstown rival. But if you're just looking at the person, he's a good kid, and that sucks. He's probably going to be really good, and he's going to be really really likable. And usually the Yankee superstars aren't really that likable. Judge is kind of in that first wave of being like a likable star, but usually like the guys who are mashing on the Yankees, everybody else was like, ah, fuck that guy. There's not a lot of fuck Aaron Judge, and I don't think there's going to be a lot of fuck Anthony Volpe. Kid seems nice.
No, he seems like, I mean, he carries himself a class. He grew up a Yankee fan. You know, I don't know if you saw it, but it was either MLB or the Yankees, one of the two on their social media accounts. They shared a video of Volpe throughout the years from when he was, you know, a little kid to his little league days, you know, to his time in Scranton or I'm sorry, not Scranton now, Somerset with the Patriots. And now him getting introduced by Paul Odin, the public address announcer at Yankee Stadium on opening day. And it was just a really cool video because I think it's something that we all dream of, right? If you're listening to this, you probably grew up listening to baseball, watching baseball. It's a passion. You've played it. You know, you've had catches with your dad or your mother in the backyard, your brother. You've grown up, you've gone, you've played the games, you've been in Little League, and you've always, you know, you've had those moments. You're in your backyard where you dream you're playing for, you know, your favorite team. For me, it's the Yankees in the bottom of the ninth in Game 7 of the World Series. And this kid's doing that. He's living that dream. How freaking cool is that? A kid from Watchung, New Jersey, who went to Del Barton High School. He gets drafted by his favorite team growing up. His grandfather loves the Yankees. His father loves the Yankees. He loved the Yankees, and now he gets to be on the Yankees. He gets to be the starting shortstop for the Yankees. That's an incredible story. That's an absolutely incredible story. And he's a
All
good
right.
kid.
You're
Good
not
kid.
supposed to say something nice about your own team. You're supposed to say something nice about my team.
I didn't talk enough about Volpe after this weekend, so I had to get a little bit in there. But all right. I'm going to say something sweet about the Mets, okay? This is actually a little bit of jealousy. It's pure jealousy, and I admire it, and I am really happy for you. On opening day, the Mets were in Miami, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And
I caught a foul ball.
You caught you say you claim that a foul ball came your way.
Yep.
But during that game, you had an amazing fan show up for the Mets, and the 7 line came out to Miami.
Sure.
And in the middle of those fans, Steve Cohen stood as one with the 7 line. And he watched the game. And he was just out there. You know, he was talking to the founder of the 7 line, just sitting out in the stands down right field. And he was right underneath where you were sitting, too.
He was, yep.
That, to me, that's awesome. And he's wearing a shirt, nonetheless, that says, what was it, Queens South or Flushing South?
Yep.
Something along those lines. Which in itself is a bit of a troll to Miami, how, you know, the Met fans filled their stadium on opening day. And he's wearing that shirt with the rest of the 7 line out there in the stands. And it takes me back to George Steinbrenner and his involvement and his love for the team. And you don't get that with Hal. You don't get that same sense with Hal that you got with George. And, you know, George, you can say a lot of things about him as an owner. A lot of good. There's a lot of bad. There's definitely a lot of opinions on him. But what you can't argue is that the man cared about his team, and he was a good guy. He was a good guy.
Loved his Yankees.
He loved his Yankees. And that's what Steve Cohen is. And Steve Cohen being part of those fans out there on the road on opening day after he opened his bank account and paid all these people to the point that you have other owners in the league whining and complaining about his spending
They
for you,
created
the
a tax
fans.
just for Steve.
Yeah. And he's out there with your peers. These
With
are
me.
Met fans. Right. This is the owner of the New York Mets. When the hell is the last time you saw a Wilpon out in the stands? I don't think maybe never.
Probably never.
He was up
I
in
mean,
the Diamond Club at Shea Stadium enjoying his Manhattans.
It's
More than he would ever come down there.
It almost feels like, and I know this is our new reality, and it's been our reality now for a couple of years, but it really almost feels like we're in like this like weird bizarro world at times.
Yeah.
Where like we're being pranked because we've been fucking bent over the barrel by our owner for forever, as long as I've been a Mets fan. And this guy, like watching his opening press conference, even when Steve Cohen showed up, it felt like he's gonna save us. Like it honestly felt like that. And like you get that vibe every once in a while, like even like with the Wilpons, like you get a new manager, you get a new general manager, you listen to like all the shit that comes out of their mouth, and you're like, maybe this is the guy, right? Maybe this guy's gonna be the one who takes us to a different direction. But like, and that's all hope when you hear them say it. But like you listen to Steve Cohen say the things that he said and his goals that he has for this team, and you kind of were like, holy shit, I believe him.
You do.
And
That's
then
it.
You believed him. And then at the same time, you were like, I think he's actually going to do it. Like you believe in him, and you believe what he says is going to happen. And like, the Mets fucking phrase, man, you got to believe. And I think Steve Cohen made believing possible again. And it's special.
He is the prime example of the phrase "you gotta believe." I mean, look at the Correa thing, right? He talked about how he wanted Correa, and then Correa suddenly becomes available, and he went and he got him. Now, ultimately, the medicals didn't check out. And I actually give the Mets more credit. There's a lot of people who like to jump on the Correa thing and say, oh, here we go, typical Mets. Mets gonna Met. But I remember you talked to me right after that happened, and you were excited about the Correa thing, and you said to me, oh, yeah, how do you feel? Mets got Correa. And I told you, I don't feel good. A team that just, wouldn't sign him after failing his medicals, now the Mets sign him. I go, to be honest with you, I don't like that move. And maybe I'm wrong on that, but the Mets obviously saw enough of a concern, and they walked away. Do you think the Wilpons, if God somehow, they had the money or the will to spend the money on Carlos Correa, I think they would have honestly signed him regardless, because they wanted to sell season tickets. They didn't care about the performance on the field. They cared about revenue and making their money back from the Madoff thing. So it's a great time to be a Met fan. It really is. This is all you want them to be competitive, at least for now. After all those years with the Wilpons, they are that. They're more than that. But it's a great time to be a Met fan. It's an exciting time to be a Met fan. And in a lot of ways, the Mets, they're the talk of the town. Now, when the Yankees get hot, they come back and they take those back pages away. But the Mets, they are, they're giving the Yankees more of a run. And a lot of times they're stealing that from the Yankees. So hats off to you. It's a great time to be a Met fan. I'm happy for you, buddy.
I think it's going to be a fun season for both of us. I think we're going to have two fun clubs to watch.
I agree.
And we're just getting started. I mean, the Mets are going to finish up this series out in Milwaukee, head home to play the Miami Marlins again for their home opener. Yankees are going to finish up against the Phillies. And then where are they heading after the Phillies, John?
We got the Phillies at home. We wrapped that up on Wednesday with an early 1:00, that middle matinee 1:00 home game. It's a getaway day. Then the next day we go to Baltimore for their home opener. And then after that, you make a round out to Cleveland for a rematch of the American League Divisional Series before returning back home to spank the Minnesota Twins, as we always do. The Mets, as you said, they're coming home with the same thing. They got the home game, home opener against Miami, ironically, who they opened on the road against. And then you got San Diego coming into town before going on a bit of a lengthy West Coast trip, mind you. I think they got Oakland, the Dodgers, and the Giants out all in California before returning home again. So it's going to be fun. We got a lot of baseball to look forward to. Again, we're just in week 1. This has been everything we could ask for and more. Games are interesting. They're flying by, and we look forward to talking to you about it every week. And check on our socials as well, too. Our YouTube, if you haven't followed us on YouTube yet, it is the letter S number 2 Station Podcast. S2 Station Podcast. Make sure to ring that bell to receive notifications on YouTube. Give those videos a thumbs up, subscribe. It helps us out a lot. It also keeps you in the loop whenever we upload videos. We upload more videos than we do podcasts as well. On the social medias, if you're looking for highlights to follow along with games, we're posting highlights on our social medias. Same thing, letter S, number 2, Station Pod, P-O-D. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok. So make sure to give those a follow as well, too, so you don't miss out on anything all season long.